Peace, 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 peace to the planet Earth. It is a wonderful Thursday. First and foremost, I got a couple of shout outs, man, before we get into today's topic as I bring my guests up here, my man Nate and my man Ambo, man. First and foremost, shout out to the whole ACLU of Virginia and their fight for the second chance law. Shout out to Santia Nance and the Sisters in Prison Reform. They gave me an opportunity to speak at one of the training events, so I definitely want to shout them out. They are an integral part of the fight. If anybody wants updates on the second chance law for the Commonwealth of Virginia, as it stands today, they did do a carve out. They did exclude certain crimes from it, but nonetheless, it's still a step in the right direction. Message me, I'll give you specific details into regards to what those carve outs were. And then shout out to Dismiss Charity Inc. Tomorrow, man. We'll be there speaking at the Federal Halfway House to the returning citizens, man, and just having real conversation with them. I feel like I'm gonna talk to them in a way they probably haven't really been taught to, and I'm excited about that because I do what I do, and I think everybody has a voice that can be used, and I know what I'm gonna use mine for, and that's what I'm gonna say. As always, in that light, man, salute to Black History Month. I celebrate Black History every month, but if you honor it in February, that's what's up too. But also, don't forget to salute the Black presence, man. Salute just yourself. Salute just being here in 2023, because Lord, hey, 2022, 2021, 2020 were definitely some rough years, man. So salute to anybody that's still standing strong. And that's it, man. I guess I'm excited today as we move in. I'm excited about today's topic. I'm gonna really start going more into doing a vlog about my actual personal life, like my day-to-day stuff up here on YouTube. One of the things you're gonna hear me speak about is me and my wife's journey to being parents. And today's topic is about that. One day I'll be a father. These are two guys I know, two guys I pay attention to, but two guys that'll tell you they're still learning too when it comes to being parents, when it comes to being fathers. But in light of Black History Month, in light of Black presence, in light of fatherhood and whole, but more specifically in light of Black men, because we're an endangered species, if we're going to be honest about it at this point in time. I don't think too often Black fathers get highlighted enough. So this will be the first time I get to do this here. I've got some questions that I've got just that have been in my head, questions, things I want to know. And then I got some questions from some other people because I always do a little homework research. I do surveys, stuff like that. And I'm always picking other people's minds. So that's where we're at with it. You'll probably see my man Freddie Williams hop up on here at some point in time. He's handling biz right now with the family first, man, but he's definitely got some things to say. So shout out to him too. Before we get into it all the way though, when we getting into from prison to parenting is what I put it, but we could have said a million different things. But I just wanted people to really get the gist of the topic. Can you guys just go ahead and introduce yourselves, man? Although you guys have been up here before, reintroduce yourselves, man, to the platform.
Oh yeah, my man, I'll let you go.
As you can see, ambitious seven steps of God. Everybody call me Ambo.
Well, I'm Nate the Dream Builder. We're here, got 4 kids, so blessed to be up here, man.
That's what let me. Like I said, I gotta ask you guys questions. I'm like, can you introduce yourself? So I'm gonna give you guys some background on them. Like I said, the topic is from parenting or from prison to parenting. We like highlighting the stories that should be celebrated. These are two brothers that at one point in time were actually with me behind these walls, behind prison walls, and not for a couple months, but for a few years. And now, fast forward to present day, I'll highlight it for them, even though one of them did kind of highlight them for them. They're both fathers. They don't got one or two kids. They got tribes in their household. And that in itself is a feat in 2023. To be married is a feat in 2023, which we can get into. We ain't gonna get all the way into that, but we can. because there's so many things that are going against a unified family, marriage. There's so many things that take the fathers out of the household, specifically black fathers. When we talk about prison, when we talk about gun violence, when we talk about suicide, because right now black males are leading by far in that area as well. So we're getting into that. I had to go ahead and highlight that because y'all are talking about my name Ambo. We see your name up there, good brother.
Nah, because I'm getting a crazy echo. I won't really finish with the intro.
All right, we got you, man.
Yeah, I got like 12 pills.
He got
No, I'm saying. No, I got 4. I got 4.
Right.
He got me beat up. Take lessons from you.
So
but yeah, I got 4. 3 of them are stuff, and 1 is actually blood. But they all mine.
That's right.
All right.
2 are mine, and 2, like you said, also mine, but through, a prior arrangement. So,
got you. Hey, you know what? We gonna go straight into it, man. I'm gonna fire off some questions off top, right? Off top. One of the things I used to have growing, one of the stigmas. I don't want to say stigmas. A lot of when I was growing up, my dad was in and out. My neighbor's dad was in and out. You know what I'm saying? Mom might start, not my mom. My mom was a saint, but my neighbor's mom might start dating somebody else. We'll see a new dude, And I remember specifically my best friend growing up. His parents had gotten a divorce, and about a year or two, whatever. It wasn't right away. His mother started dating another guy, right? And dude was all right. You know what I'm saying? For all that, from what I seen from the outside, but he stepped into the household. You know what I'm saying? And I remember my buddy back then, he was just real standoffish. He was rebellious. He had that type energy until something happened one day with a new guy who eventually became, as he said, his stepfather, won him over. He was basically there for a moment where he needed him to back him up. And you guys both spoke on, you being fathers of children, yours, and in your own words, not yours, or other situations, right? Step parents, and we'll say as most people know it. Getting right into it, because that was one of the top questions in 2023, because a lot of times, especially in our age group, when you get into relationships, usually one or the other individual already has children. Because you're older, people live lives, etc. Was that or is that a struggle stepping into that situation? I'm not even going to mention the fact somebody coming out of prison and doing that, but was that or is that a struggle at times?
You want to take it, Nate?
I mean, I could. I mean, it wasn't a struggle. It was more so mentally for me, just from what I've heard from other situations similar. How another male presence is entered into the house, and how the kids do sometimes rebel. And so, like, even me growing up, I was put in that situation where my dad took on another woman in the household, and I went through that period. Not just necessarily rebellious, but like we didn't click, and just things like that. But when when you're young, you're a kid, you don't really understand the ins and outs of being an adult and what adults deal with. So I did go through that. So for me, stepping into this house, it was definitely different than what I expected, because I expected, the rambunctious and rebellious, "You're not my dad" type of deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that definitely is not what I stepped into. So it was eye opening for me, and it kind of threw me off guard, because you build yourself up for a situation, and then the situation doesn't go that way. Now you're unprepared.
Right. You prepared for the wrong scenario, and it went the other way.
You think you prepared.
What about you, Ambo? Is it a struggle sometimes? Is it easy? Is it something that you found it was just a natural transition? How is it for you?
Man, it's a struggle. It is a struggle. But it's only a struggle because of the mindset that you got trapped in when when you was incarcerated. Like I know you heard plenty of guys say that for a while, while they was locked up, all their dreams consisted of the penitentiary. You know what I'm saying? You can be dreaming about something that's going on in the street, but you might have a chow hall instead of cafeteria in your dream. You know what I'm saying? Or you might have a CO. It's just something that's always about the penitentiary was in your dream. But my purpose of saying is that it that way of thinking becomes so hard to break that you don't know that you're doing it to, you know what I'm saying? You don't know you manifesting that to the kids, you know what I'm saying? So I'll probably say it was hard because I had to readjust my mindset of thinking, you know what I'm saying? But just, if I had came in, maybe not going through the hell that I went through while I was incarcerated, maybe, you know what I'm saying, it might would have been a smooth transition, but based on by the way I thought, yeah, it was rough. It was rough for me and them. You know what I'm saying? We both had to learn.
So I see basically two situations on opposite ends of the spectrum, almost from my perspective,
Things
which
like
is good for the conversation because it's real. I feel like, and again, not there yet. You know what I'm saying? I know one day me and my wife we're gonna adopt. Situation's gonna be different, but similar, I guess. Um, I think everybody can agree that there's somewhere within the spectrum of what you guys just touched on. No, I don't see how you can miss right now when it comes to this conversation.
Oh, for sure.
Um, when it comes to, because you mentioned prison, Ambo, and prison mentality. And this question I would think is relevant. How do you introduce, or how did you introduce the truth to your kids about you being in prison, etc.? Was it just some, hey, just natural conversation, or was it something you kind of were skeptical about at first? Was it something you and your significant other came up with a game plan, or how do you approach that?
it was now that trend, that part was smooth because neither nor me nor them thought a second thought of it. You know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? But they're saying just okay because they don't really understand, what prison is. You know what I'm saying? They just know that I was somewhere for doing something that I wasn't supposed to do. That's all they knew. At the time when I met them. You know what I'm saying? So it really it wasn't an issue. You know what I'm saying?
What about you, Nate?
Man. So it really wasn't planned in the sense of just the situations that transpired before that conversation. We had just found out that we were, having our fourth child. And so that was a shock to everybody. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, like, we weren't married. So it was one of those situations like, where are we going from here? You know what I mean? So um fast forward through, all the stuff, but like we really had to sit everybody down. And her kids, of course my son already knew, but her kids didn't know. So it was really just, you know, this is what's going on. This is how we're planning to move forward. Are you all comfortable? Basically, because I was, not only am I being introduced, I already knew them, but they didn't know my backstory. So now it's like, before we take it any further in our relationship, we wanted to make sure that, the kids felt comfortable, the kids felt safe, because if that was very key, towards, where we are today, as far as us being together versus, us just raising a child together. So
So let me ask you this: it's one thing to introduce it to the children, that you're not parenting biologically, at least. Um, is there a scenario where you've had to introduce it to their fathers? Are they a part of the picture? Is there conversation there, or how does that go?
Boom. And that's where well, for me, that's where the explosion starts.
mm,
You know what I mean? See, you got it's two different rounds, man, and I got both. I'm thinking about this. So you got, you got you got your stepkids that has the other parent in their lives, then you have the one that doesn't have the other parent in their lives. Either one can be held. Either one can be held, and it's crazy. But that jump, I ain't trying to go too deep. You know what I'm saying? I can go forever. I know Nate probably know. I hope you don't though. But
I mean,
you
how
have
did
to.
did you have the conversation?
That's what I'm about to. That's what I'm about to say. I never. I've been with her 6 years, and me and him never still met. He don't want to meet me, and I got his daughter. You know what I'm saying? So not his son, but his daughter, and he don't want to meet me. Like when we first got together, he would hit my wife up and tell her Happy Father's Day. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, okay, that's how you feel. You know what I'm saying? But it would things would go a whole lot better if me and him could talk. You know what I'm saying, man to man.
Right.
But
Communicate.
he's his history is, you know what I'm saying, not right and exact. So his
Well,
way of thinking isn't a sit down, have a conversation type person. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
what Nate? I want to ask Nate that. Well, anybody, because now I'm looking at situations and scenarios. I'm thinking about we said from prison to parenthood or prison to parenting. Our lives have to. We got to live differently. Whether you're on probation, off probation, let me listen, man. Once you're in the system, you have been tagged and identified. And if you ever
Mm.
get put under a microscope again, all that stuff gonna come up, and the judge gonna see that. Is there a level of anxiety and stress? And I don't
Yeah.
know, is there attached to that, knowing that you're parenting somebody and they got a father and you haven't communicated. Not saying it's going to be a bad conversation when you do have it, but just the fact it's been that long and not having it. And I don't want to get too much into
Man,
it,
it's thin ice.
huh?
It's thin ice. It's thin ice. Like the smallest thing can be said can make a big explosion. You know what I'm saying? Like the
Yeah,
smallest thing can make a conversation go haywire. You know what I mean? So it's always anxiety or fear of that kid saying, I like him over him, or I respect him more than him, or he going back and saying, look, you know, he did this, that, and the third to me, when in actuality it really wasn't that. You know what I'm saying? You know how kids get when their emotions going, you know what I'm saying? They kind of over exaggerate the situation. So you gotta worry about how he gonna take it. Can I talk to him? You know what I'm saying? Is it gonna be cool? Is this gonna linger? Like, yeah, it's definitely anxiety.
yeah. I wanted to ask that. I know that's a question. That's a conversation I've actually had with two other guys I know, man. Similar situation, and that's one of their fear because it's crazy. They're in a situation where they loved it, and they're both married. They both, but their wives were, we're older. Things happen in relationships when you're younger, and they love their wives now, and for how they love their stepkids, they love their kids. I don't use the term step, but I get why people use it. Um, and they're not in a bad, but they're in a tough situation because they want peace. They want everything. They want communication. They want certain things. I want to shift it over to you, Nate, real quick. Communication. I feel like, and I know you, in your own words, man, you're still learning things and all that. But when I see you guys on social media, you guys are like the 2023 Brady Bunch to me, right? But I'm not saying it. I'm not saying that's what it is. I don't know if it's all hurricane. I don't know, but I'm just saying I know you
Bang,
as an individual. I
bangs
know, I
though.
know, I know the inner you, and you've always been the same behind those walls, and I know that's going to reflect. And I see certain things that you let people see, and I know communication is a strong suit. I know it is in the household because you got a lot of stuff going on. You and the missus, I know y'all working, there's a lot of moving pieces. Same thing for Ambo. Communication. What's how imperative is it, and Is it something you had to learn, grow into it? Did you find a rhythm? Like, how did you figure that piece out?
Books, bro, personal development, man. That's been and as well as mentorship and guidance too. So don't get me wrong, it's not just books, but you definitely I had to align myself with people that were, you know, they were intelligent, they were thinking, they had a right relationship with their kids. You know what I'm saying? And so like you said, being even growing up, we didn't have certain outlets when it came to us, speaking with our parents as far as what we was going through. You know what I'm saying? And even being in prison, like or growing up, you don't have to be a prison thing, but since we're speaking about prison, you can't really show too much emotion. You can't have different fears. You can't have certain, thoughts or mind states. But so, being in that, coming from that world and being planted in this one, it definitely took a lot of growth and it took a lot of, vulnerability because it's one thing when your kids come to you asking for an answer and you don't, instead of being like, I don't know, what did you always hear? Because I said so,
Yeah.
versus, okay, now I understand it's not about obedience necessarily as it is about um, passing on an understanding. You know what I'm saying? Because if I could teach you, how to think properly for yourself, well, it'll be less bad. I ain't gonna say bad or negative, but um, they'll have a mindset to where okay, they'll think twice before action. They'll see like okay, what would my dad do, or what would my mom do, or I'm really just passing on my process of thinking
Mm-hmm.
versus oh because I said so or because I know what's best for you. I want you to know what's best for you because I can't always guide you and govern you. So if
Right.
I can impart my thought process at least, not to say that my kids have to think like me because I'm not always right in this act, but by me being able to share with them my thought process, it'll help them develop their own thought process to where, okay, my dad, this is why my dad said this because he cares
Right.
versus this is what my dad says because he wants obedience or he wants to position. Does that make sense?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely. I think for me, my experiences with and this is different, but with my nieces and nephews, they wanted to know the whys. They wanted to know the details. And when I gave them the opportunities of choice, but I showed them this is what's gonna happen and consequence behind it, and they started to grasp certain things, man. Because that's one of the things me and my wife did. We put structure. We was like, yo, you wake up in the morning here, we cleaning the house, like, and so I get that part. I feel like when you said you don't tell people what to do, or you don't tell them what to do as much as because you said you can't tell them what's going to be best for them, essentially. You know what I'm saying? I hear right there, you're not running a dictatorship.
No.
I watch certain parental styles, and the dopest fathers I see, man, they're the ones that take the time to explain. And the ones that I see that often got problems, and and this isn't, who am I, but they're usually the ones that are barking orders. So I don't know. I'm on the outside looking in, but I'm gonna go with what I see and try to utilize that when it's my turn. You also said something. I want to say this too about advice. You know what I'm saying? I just want to put this is related but unrelated. In 2023, stop going to underqualified people for overqualified advice. If somebody hasn't, I'm not gonna, me personally, somebody might disagree with this, but I'm not going for marriage advice to somebody that's not married or hasn't had a successful marriage or isn't trying to be married. That's just me. If I'm not, just a word. When you said that, I believe that. And I just want to, yeah. So, yeah, 2023.
That's facts, man.
Going into it, this is another question that was asked. It's unrelated but related. Both of you guys can definitely touch on this. So many tragedies, school shootings, all these things are horrible. It's 2023 is, for me, not being a parent is, I'm full of anxiety for the kids I see out here at the bus stops when I'm driving around in the morning, because you just don't know in Atlanta. You don't know anywhere, right? Like, you turn on the news, kids 14 down here in Atlanta, 16 and 14-year-old just caught a murder charge. Things are changing, things are shifting because social media. I feel like, again, from the outside looking in, I feel like it's incredibly hard to keep your child young, or not, I want to say that, keep your child their age. I feel like what we knew at 8 years old, at 8, they're seeing stuff that you should see at 16 because of social media, and exposure impacts the mind and all these things. So the question was, and a question of mine, and a couple of people asked the same thing. We termed it, or I think we might have heard Charlemagne the God. I think he used it on a radio show, his radio show, parental paranoia. The term of being fearful of being a parent in 2023. When it comes to your children going to school, or if they want to go out and play. I seen a meme recently where it said, when we were kids, our parents used to let us ride bikes with no phones and be gone all day. They wouldn't even know where we was at. Yeah. I couldn't even fathom doing that in 2023. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you got to put a tracking device on your kid. That's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? But you guys, y'all are the pro, y'all are the experience, y'all are the vets. I can't give you the perspective. What's y'all perspective on that? Are you not fearful? Is it just is what it is? How do you approach that? When they want to drive, or when they want to go sleep over at a friend's house and you don't know the parents, or these type of scenarios.
Ooh,
Ammo crazy down there. Ammo's eyes got like this.
I'll just tell you like this, man. Because I have older kids, and then I have a younger one. So I have a 17-year-old, 14, and 12. I can't stop them from living their life, just like I can't stop living my life. I have to be the example. So while I am aware, you know what I'm saying, and we've had a couple of incidents up here, not that anybody did anything at their school, but it doesn't take anything for them now, especially after current events. So it could be somebody airdropping a picture of guns to somebody in the school, and they report it, and you know what I'm saying. So like, I've had to leave my job and come get my kids, but on the one of the things that I have to have faith in is myself. You know what I'm saying? Because if they call me, I gotta be there, and I'm gonna be there. I can't stop them from living their life. And plus, now my kids have phones. Most kids do. But we talk about those things. We have to sit down. I'll ask them like, "Hey, how you feel?" This and that. And I don't do about for every school shooting that comes up on the news. I'm not gonna lie. I barely watch the news, although I do know. I got enough situational awareness.
Right.
But if we do sit down and have those conversations, just about what's going on and how, what actions to take. They always know if you feel unsafe, uncomfortable, I don't care when, where, how, give me a call. I'm coming. You know what I'm saying? So, and I feel like, not saying that I'm Superman or I'm super dad or nothing like that, but, I guess in a sense, like, you're teaching them how to react to certain situations. You know what I'm saying? If I lose my cool, of course they gonna be losing their cool. That's just because you're top dog in a sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they see you panic,
and they don't know how to act, so they just gonna follow what you do.
You better bet it.
But if I'm not gonna necessarily say train them, because the Lord knows I don't want that to happen to them. But in the sense of, hey, if it don't matter if it's a party, they're out with their friends, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? My phone is on. I don't care if it's 2, 3 in the morning. Not to say that they be out there late, but I'm just saying if they're at a friend's house spending the night, my phone's on. My ringer is turned all the way up. You know what I'm saying? So it's really just, letting them know, 1, that you care, 2, have a conversation with them, and 3, like, you don't have to be there.
No question. What about you, Ambo? Parental paranoia? Any? None?
So yeah, my paranoia crazy. My anxiety skyrocket with them. Like I got cameras in my little girl's room with fear of them being snatched while I'm asleep. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I hear them cry, I want to be able to see them, you know what I'm saying, without having to get up, go all the way down the hallway every time, and open up the door. Um, somebody just got killed out my apartment like 2, 3 days ago. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And I had just brought my son home from work. I got a 17-year-old, a 14, a 10, and a 4. And I bring J Twan home, my oldest, and that the occurrence happened maybe 30 minutes after we walked in the house. You know what I'm saying? But
mm,
we never heard nothing. You know what I mean? But anyway, both of the people lost their lives. So now my youngest, my oldest girl, she don't want to go to the bus stop. You know, she usually walk. Now she one of us got to take her now. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
And my anxiety crazy because I we grew up, we grew up around, death, you know what I'm saying, and people getting shot and things of that nature. And to us, it was like, it was crazy, it was messed up, but I hate to say it, we were kind of getting immune to seeing it. You know what I'm saying? Like it still would affect us real hard, but it was like, dang, it happened again, man. You know what I'm saying? And
mm,
for them, like it's different with them. It's to them, they feel everything. You know what I'm saying? Like they take it to the heart. Like they lost somebody that they knew. You know what I'm saying? They're more in touch with their feelings than we were. Well, I can't say we. I only speak for myself, but you know what I'm saying? They were more in tune with their feelings than I was. So I'm trying to understand that too. You know what I'm saying? So like now my anxiety, now I'm worried. Not only am I worried about themselves, I'm worried about what they thinking. You know what I'm saying? And
mm.
me not being the best communicative person, like sometimes I feel like I put up a wall to the point to whereas they don't want to come ask me something. You know what I'm saying? Like the other day, there was a boy on a bus. He had touched my little girl on the butt and called her a B. You know what I'm saying? So she probably the toughest child out of all four of them. She came home wailing, crying. She don't cry. You know what I'm saying? She broke her arm one time, and we didn't even know her arm was broke until we just had to look at it. She don't cry. So when she coming home crying, I know something crazy that happened. So she tell me what happened and stuff, but it it bothered me to whereas she ain't just come straight to me. You know what I'm saying? She went to the room. You know what I'm saying? She felt like this how I'm looking at it. If she may have felt like it was better to, go be by herself than come tell me about it. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of was an eye opener for me. But nevertheless, I knew what I had to do. I knew I had to do whatever I had to do to make her feel good. So I asked her what she want me to do. You know what I'm saying? She said she didn't know. I already knew what to do. So the boy stayed at our apartments. She knew where he stayed at, you know what I'm saying? And got in the car, we drove over there. I met his parents, explained to him, explained to parents what happened. They asked him about it. He tried to lie, but all parents know when their kids lying. So they made him apologize. They popped him in front of her and all that. You know what I'm saying? So I asked her before I walked off. I was like, "Do you feel better?" You know what I'm saying? How do you feel? She was like, "I'm satisfied. I feel a whole lot better." I'm like that's what it is right there. You know what I'm saying? But the worry about you know what they go through now. You know what I'm saying? And how it affects them. It don't just roll off them like it did us. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of sticking to them. You know what I mean?
I would say that it didn't roll off us either. That's
Yeah,
the issue that we're seeing continuing forward, and I think that's one thing we've got to get into the conversation. It stuck on us. It manifested in a lot of us going to prison, becoming addicts,
yeah,
taking our own lives, staying, man, being abusive. it definitely manifested. I want to say this: anxiety. My personal experience, when I was not addressing my anxiety caused anxiety within my household. Do you feel like that happens sometimes? Because, and the reason I ask that is because my wife told me one time, she's like, yo, I don't feel like I can talk to you sometimes. Because I would either be, I don't want to use the word standoffish, but I might have isolated or put up a wall, something like that. Do you feel like that could be occurring?
Sometimes, sometimes, yeah, most definitely. But we all get like that though. Maybe me more than most, but we all get like that. It's just, I guess it's just in the blood. You know what I'm saying? This whole household do the same thing.
Mm. And the other thing I was thinking about, which I'm going to transition into the next question. Uh, Most profound statement I ever got from my psychiatrist was, if your mental health or your mental illness had been diagnosed when you were a child, you probably wouldn't have ended up in prison. There's a lot of traumas they're finding through studies that directly correlate to type and mental illnesses such as bipolar 1 and 2, severe depression, and more. Um, I hear Ambo, we've talked about therapy at times. Nate, I've thrown it out there. I don't know if you guys want to share your thoughts on it. Do you introduce that into your households? Have you? Do you think it's a good thing? How do you feel about neutral parties or neutral listeners coming in to give insight and introspective when it comes to the family and certain things?
I'm gonna take this one, dude. Yes, yes. If you can get it, man, get it. I'm not gonna say I regret it, but I definitely I really wish I could have went back and maybe even before getting into relationships, just kind of dealt with that. I mean, of course, you don't never know it's a problem until somebody else tells you it's a problem too. So, um, just kind of give you just a backstory of what I'm talking about. Being introduced, I didn't just come into this relationship right out of prison. So I got out. I was probably out for maybe a year and a half, closer to 2 years, really. And so, but it was just one of those growing things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like one, depression, none of that stuff is ever talked about as kids. We never got that talk.
Nope.
Either we was always smile, even when after you get your butt whooped, put the smile on, what you crying for, this and that. So it's like, okay, you get conditioned. We got conditioned to kind of hold on to what we had. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Whether it was resentment, pain, anger issues, worry, and then if you was what everything was ADHD when I was coming up. I don't know if that was you.
Yeah. Yeah. Ritalin, ADHD.
Really,
You're hyper.
really,
You
really,
got too
really.
much energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they so quick to medicate. So it's like, fast forward into like being in where we are now. Like my daughter, she has a therapist. You know what I'm saying? Just from some things that she experienced as a young girl. So um, and even from my wife really had to show me that that was okay. You know what I mean? So I put it's not just me. People was like, okay, I want to put this out there, right? I'm a good dad. I consider myself a great dad, honestly. But I wouldn't be here without my wife. And she's definitely introduced a lot of different ways of thinking. I mean, it goes both ways, but she definitely has really helped me in my parenting journey. And so I do want to give her a shout out. But so back to the whole therapy thing, yeah, like that's a thing that was something that was never offered to us as kids, and we've seen a significant improvement. Just because at the time, I guess my daughter, for whatever reason, she just had that one issue or one core memory or thought that she just couldn't get over it. It don't matter. We talked to her numerous of times, but sometimes you need that quote unquote unbiased um, insight, if that makes sense. You need somebody on the outside. I feel like because you ever think about it, and I could be rambling, but like you'll be quick to go out and grab a couple drinks and tell the dude next to you your whole life story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you feel comfortable talking to a stranger. That's always been my experience from prison to now. People that I don't even know. Majesty one time, me and you have had this conversation, life. They just come and they just feel so comfortable. to tell
Yeah.
me what they got going on.
Yeah.
I never understood that till probably a couple years ago. But it's just that whole anonymity thing, like no judgment. I don't even know you to judge you. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like in that sense, therapists or seeking therapy is definitely a plus, especially nowadays with so much going on. Kids, especially kids, having so much access to things that grow them up faster than what they need.
Man.
Just a deal.
Yeah, you can see anything on the internet. Like you
It's
you
like,
you turn on the internet, it's instant trauma nowadays.
Yeah,
but it's like the therapist thing. This how I look at it. It's like the therapist is, or the psychologist. It's like you're in the maze, and they can see the whole maze. You're in the maze, but they can see the whole maze, so they can be like, look, if you go this way, you're gonna hit this wall. I suggest you to go this way. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, most definitely is needed. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you don't have all your ducks in a row mentally. You know what I'm saying? When you basically when you understand that, like, all right, something ain't right. You know what I mean? Like, we need some help. Whatever I'm doing isn't working. We didn't try this, that, and the third. It's time to let somebody from the outside look in and give us a different perspective. And it's ironic because I just seen my therapist today at 5 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? And she shines on our first meeting. She shined insight on me, something that I had never even thought about. You know what I'm saying? Like, she come with it, but we needed that. You know what I'm saying? And now I got it set up to where it's the whole line getting it. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting it, wife, my kids, all us in the same person. So she can, jive, figure out how the household is and better help us navigate through these mazes.
yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, I think I'm pro therapy. Y'all know I'm super pro therapy. And anybody that thinks therapy is whack, I guarantee you, anybody that's getting a bag in 2023, they got a therapist. I'm willing to bet $1 million to one. So it can't be that. It can't be that whack. You know what I'm saying?
Straight
Jeff
up.
Bezos and Tyler Perry and every other billionaire, millionaire. Kanye need one. If he ain't got one,
Mm,
you
Mm.
know,
mm,
we still.
mm.
But look,
Prime example that you need one. His
right.
his therapist was his mom.
Yeah, and that's the dangerous part, and that's why I think it's beneficial to seek a neutral party, man. Somebody that's not um, connected emotionally or in any way to you. I think the dopest therapist I had, she just broke down what I said to her and gave it back to me in a way to understand. And that's what therapy is. If anybody wants to know, the basic definition is it's basically somebody showing you how to face your trauma and then showing you that it's okay and how to move past it. And you form healthy brain habits, healthy thinking habits until eventually you form a healthy lifestyle. Might be something you got to work on for your whole life, but that's okay. You got the tools, and at least every day you got the tools that you can implement to have a good day. So that's why I think it's important for anybody coming home from incarceration. I think it's definitely important when there's children involved, when there's a spouse involved, when you're still finding your way. A lot of times we get into relationships and situations, even myself before I was healed, and hey,
Yes.
had moments in my relationship, growing pains in my marriage, etc. Not just with family members, all that, because I got locked up when I was 19. I came home when I was 36. I missed a lot of life experience. So I can only imagine both you guys, multiple children in the household, married, you're holding it down through the pandemic, jobs, all of this. What's the stress level like in 2023? Is there a stress level? Are you Phil Jackson? Are you the Zen master, or are you freaking out every day? What is it like? You know what I'm saying? Being a black father. And I want to throw this thought out there. My man Markel next door, man. Shout out to him. He's top 3 best fathers in the history of planet Earth.
Hmm.
He said in 20, this was last year, he said, man, in this day and age, my greatest fear is that I lose my life today and I've left nothing for my family to be okay with. And I just
Hmm.
want to throw that. I don't know why that came up, but when he said it messed me up because I didn't think of it like that. And I thought I'd seen a father, I seen a black father, I seen a black man being transparent and vulnerable and saying, "Hey, this is my greatest fear. If I leave here," and he works for the morgue, so he sees death every day. I don't want to get too much into his situation, but it was a deep thought and perspective. But is there fear being a father? Is there fear being black? Is there fear being an ex-felon, getting pulled over with the kids and by the police?
I,
What if there are any fears? What are they?
oh man, I man, it's a lot. I don't give a care. I don't want to get pulled over without my kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, I know for me, one of my biggest. I'm not going to necessarily say fears, but definitely a strong concern. I have a child that stays in Minnesota with his mother,
Mm.
and so even like going through the pandemic, like I was hitting that road. That's 16 hours there and back to get him versus him flying because usually we put him on a plane.
Dang, right.
So having to plan, financially and stuff like that, logistics for that. Even now, like just the stuff that he's going through. And granted, we can hop on the phone, but it's definitely I worry for him a lot just because I can't keep my eye on him. I'm limited to this right here. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Or, if I can't get a hold of him, I can definitely call his mom. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes they ain't always together. So it's always one of those. Like you said, that's what brings out my anxiety. You know what I'm saying? Because he's like me in most aspects. From school to growing up, just to he in a divorce situation. I grew up in a divorce situation, so I can relate in some ways, but in other ways, it's almost hard to connect with him, especially coming home from prison. I was not in the best mind state when I was reintroduced to him. And so I feel like that kind of carries into our relationship now, how I was then. And, even though we sat down and had that conversation of, hey, I'm in a period of growth, so just bear with me. I apologize, but like I said, you develop those core memories, and kids, they don't forget that so easy. They don't.
Right.
And so, my one
Say
of
that.
my biggest one of my biggest fears is that I've done irreparable damage to him. You know what I'm saying? From not being there to being there, but not being the person that he wanted or expected me to be at that time. You know what I'm saying? To now, it's almost like I feel guilt, constant guilt, almost to.
Hey, I I want to stop you. It's crazy. You can't do anything about the wounds you've caused. But
Okay.
the best thing you can do for you and that individual, in this case your child, is to forgive yourself. Because that guilt, it will do nothing. There's no way you can convince me that guilt will do anything other than hinder you.
Oh, of course, of
So
course.
that's just a word because that's something I faced in one of my last therapy sessions. I hurt somebody that I love, and I had to face the fact that I can't make them forget something, and they
Yeah.
may not ever. But I can't live. I know I'm going to be connected to that person, and I can't live tiptoeing around the fact that they woke up on a Wednesday and they thought about something I did 4 years ago. So I just want to throw that out because that was something I had to get faced with, man. And I think we all have. When we came home from prison, I think there was um, growing pain. I always term them growing pains. You know,
Mm.
um, relationship related anxieties, whether it's with a parent, a brother, a sister. It doesn't have to be a spouse or a child. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And then I wanted to shift over to you, Ambo. Fears. You know more. You know in regards to your walk. You just spoke on somebody losing their life or a situation, a violent situation occurring where you guys live. Outside of protecting the kids, like, do you find yourself moving uh, in a specific way to make sure you make it home every day? Is it something you don't think of? Is how do you move in 2023 as a father trying to get back home? Are there thoughts? Do you prep your wife? Do you have conversations? Hey, if something happens, because this is a question, not a question, a statement of Buddy said. He said he literally got with his wife and his children and went over basically a script if they got pulled over by the police. Same brother said he literally went over basically a script if he lost his life. What would be the next things they're supposed to do? I'm just sitting here and I'm like, one of them situations where somebody comes up and starts talking to you and you know,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, it might not be nowhere as extreme as that, but what are your thoughts on that, Ambo? Because 2023, every time I look up, man, something.
Shoot. Um, I don't know, man. Like, I can't. I'm not one of the, to have a script for them. I'm not one of those. But I do try to keep them well informed on what you can and can't do. Even though I know most of the time we'll probably forget a lot of stuff that we told in the heat of the moment. You know what I'm saying? But I try to, at least educate them on it. But I ain't really tripping on it. Like, I'm not really, having an anxiety attack about it, because what's gonna happen is gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? I used to trip on it, you know what I'm saying? But now it's like, you know, I have to basically trust that what I taught them is gonna stand firm. You know what I'm saying? I can't sit and worry like, is they gonna hold it down? You know what I'm saying? Are they gonna say anything to make this officer react a certain way? You know what I'm saying? I got mine being straight. You know what I'm saying? I got mine handling it.
Mhm. I always wonder that. We're in a weird time, man, and it's not that we were safer back then when we were kids, but kids are clearly not safer now. We're not safer as humans, not just children, but we're not safer as humans. So just want to ask that, man. Had a weird, not a weird, a deep conversation, man, about that. And I definitely appreciated it, brother. I'm actually gonna get him up here in a couple weeks. He's
Oh,
gonna talk.
before I wanted to backtrack one time about
Mhm.
how about the guys who bash therapy. A lot of times, man, they don't know how to, find a therapist. You know what I'm saying? They just open up some pages or hit it online, and the first person they see, they go for it. Usually that's a bad idea. You know what I'm saying? You always, what I'm learning through my therapist search, you always have to have somebody that look like you. You know what I'm saying? At least your skin tone. You know what I'm saying? Your gender or something. You know what I mean? You have to have something relatable with that person. And I think a lot of dudes that, that I tried therapy, it ain't work, they probably got the wrong person. Because my first person was a little white lady. You know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't work out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and she said it herself, like, she was trying to counsel me and my wife, and she flat out said it like, I can't handle y'all, but I can refer y'all to somebody else. And that opened my eyes right then and there. I'm like, okay, so I can't just go to anybody just because they're a therapist and they licensed and they got X amount of experience. They can have 50 years experience, but if they ain't got nothing relatable for me, I'm a fail. And I just wanted to tell that to the therapist bashers, kind of try to
Yeah.
come in it, a little bit more open minded.
Yeah, I would say treat therapy like you're dating. You probably want to see 2 to 3 therapists and see what you like and what you respond to. And I would say not to counter Ambo's thought, but I bring his name up. I brought him up on this show already. Charlemagne the guy. Got to bring him up again. Shook Ones, great book. Super pro black guy, all that. His therapist is actually a Caucasian white lady, and he talks about it, and he wants it that way so he can get a different perspective. Somebody that has a totally different perspective. So, not saying, you know what I'm saying, I disagree or agree with Ambo. It's just another perspective that I heard in a book I recently read, man. So, but treat it like dating and find what works for you, you know.
Mhm.
But also know this: therapy doesn't work for everybody. You know, therapy might not be your thing, but take the opportunity to find what is. There's alternative methods when it comes to mental health. Um, I'm looking forward to the weekend after the next. I'm going to go do some circuits and do some things, man. And mental health is your mental wealth. Like that's it. Like if you're not running well up top, then it's gonna be hard to run things, you know, around you. That's all I'm saying, man. So definitely don't be shy with therapy. Try it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Um, I'm looking at this one last question, man, before we get out. Um, what is one thing you would tell or one suggestion you would make? You kind of touched on a little bit, Nate, but one thing you would tell yourself, um, or your younger self prior to your journey of being a father. This time out, I know Ghost, you've been a father for a minute. Long Ambo's a newer father, but
Okay.
what I guess it would still apply. What would you tell yourself, your younger version of father, or your few years ago father mentality versus now? Like, what's a message you would tell yourself? Something you've learned.
As far as being a father,
Yeah, something you would tell when you were first tell the young man that you were when you were first starting off on the journey of fatherhood.
man, honestly, find your own way, bro. Find your own way. And I say that in light of not disrespecting my parents by any means, because I love both of my parents. I have both parents in my life, and they definitely, help shape me and mold me. So I don't want to go against my parents, but really more so, I say that to say that every you got to find your own parenting style. You know what I'm saying? And I know it's harder as a young person when you don't know what you don't know. So all we were taught was what we was taught. You know what I'm saying? But growing older, um, it's better to be more. I said it earlier, transparent. You know what I'm saying? Be transparent. Sit your kids down. Explain to them. Explain. Take the time. I was never allowed to be like, why? You know what I'm saying? And now I have a kid that's always like that. Why? He's just inquisitive, not disrespectfully, but he just wants to know stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me to be like, because I said so, or why you want to know? Like that's, I feel like you diminish that innocence and that light.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I would tell myself, yeah, don't just be you and let your kids express themselves, because I'm telling you, it definitely builds a way better relationship.
That's peace.
I mean, if any parent, point blank period, knows that's the universal rule. Like that's what I bet every parent could go back and tell themselves that same thing. Just listen to them. Listen to your kids a little bit more. You
Mm,
know what I'm saying? And it's okay to not do what your parents did to you. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us, including myself at one point, my wife had, still breaking me out of it. Is at one point I thought if I didn't, do how my mom did me, you know what I'm saying, things will go wrong. I have to do it. You know what I'm saying? This is the blueprint that I'm given. But we not thinking like this blueprint ain't work. You know what I'm saying? It's like somewhere in between 1 and 9, the numbers got messed up. You know what I'm saying? So like we gotta learn, like you said, we gotta learn to adjust. There's some things that we can get from our parents, but we can't get everything from them. And it's not their fault because it was passed on through their parents and their parents and their
yes,
parents. And it's all coming, it's going as deep as roots. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to them. But that's the universal rule. Listen and patience. You know what I'm saying? Try to be more communicative with them. Try to actually listen to them. Sometimes we have to. we can be so mad at them for something they said or did, you know what I'm saying? It cloud us and we just want to punish justice, you know what I'm saying? We just want to give them a penalty. But sometimes what they do, even though it's something, it might be some stupid stuff, you know what I'm saying? They might have good reason why they did it, you know what I'm saying? Something, so yeah, every parent will probably say the same thing.
That's peace, man. Well, I'm gonna say what I said at the top of the hour, man. I salute you, brothers. Give y'all your roses, right here, right now. You guys never claim to be perfect. You're learning, and as far as I'm concerned, if you're a father and you're learning in 2023 and willing to keep learning, you're winning, and you're a good person. You're a good man. So salute y'all. And keep going, man. Hey, word of encouragement from the outside in. Keep going. Hey, just keep going, keep setting the bar, keep breaking bondages, keep those curses, those generational curses. Not every family has them to that death, gratefully. Shout out to Nate. He just said both parents. Yo, that's a beautiful thing. Um, but nonetheless, man, keep doing your work. People are watching. And most importantly, is you guys hit on the head, man. The kids are watching. They're learning. And I can only imagine the responsibility you guys feel every day. So salute to y'all. We probably definitely will get you guys both back up here for a panel on being married in 2023. But y'all might not want to get in my panel because one thing about me, I talk. That's all I'm gonna say. Y'all might want to dodge the conversation because I don't care. I put hey, I'm but anyways, we gonna have
I had a question for you too, Nate.
What's up, bro?
How was it? Cause my daughter, she's the one that has a father in her life, right?
Okay.
So their household is the opposite of us. You know what I'm saying? We're more strict. Um, uh, we're more strict. You know what I'm saying? But they're more loose. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
next time we get up here, man, I kind of want to know how it was growing up in both households.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could definitely attest to that, but it was similar. I'll say that it was definitely similar, and so it played a role, and like it even plays a role now. Like now that I have a son that stays in another household, so we could definitely dialogue about that, brother.
That's good.
right. I'm up. I just text Ambo before we got restarted for part 2 of our 2-hour segment that I got to get up at 2:30 a.m. because I got to get up and do some public speaking tomorrow. And my brother be going rogue as always for the entire time that I've known him, but it's all love. That's what big brothers are here for. Salute to you, Ambo. Ambitions to God. Nate, the dream builder.
Yes,
These are
sir.
my brothers, man. That's all I'm gonna say. These brothers, thick and thin, my lowest and my highest, man. And we here to stay, so I'm always grateful. They part of my support system. People always shout me out. They're like, "Man, you doing this, you doing that." I can assure you, without these two brothers and about maybe 3.5 more people on the face of the planet Earth, I don't know if I'd be able to get the things done that I'm doing, man. As
The
always,
half
I'm
person,
screaming, huh?
the half person though,
Oh,
you just
the half person fire though. The half person, the half person's fire, man.
I
Um,
bet.
Y'all already know, man. As always, free my brother Jefferson Ellie. Continuing to fight over 186,000. I had to do an autocorrect on that. I thought it was 188. It's over 186,000 signatures.
That's
Um, Far more than Maya Moore got, and she got a documentary for 30,000 signatures. But anyways,
Wow.
hey, to my advocates fighting for the second chance law, everything in the Commonwealth of Virginia, everywhere else, message me. We're getting ready to organize the troops. We're gonna do something real big, man. Time to wake them up. Till next time, see y'all next Thursday, 7 p.m. Oh, and lock in to the Facebook page, D100 TV, for the chat and some more exclusive content. We're doing bills every day for Black History Month. That's how we get it in. Peace.
yes, sir.